Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Eric Debnet, co-operator of Two Geeks A Nerd Productions, along with my partner in crime,
Black Samurai, also co-owner and operator, Two Geeks in the Nerd Productions.
and this is a new episode of the Two Geeks A Nerd Productions Freestyle Show. For those of you who's first time tuning in, this is our podcast, or whatnot, a virtual, visual podcast, whatever you want to call it, but it's a podcast show. Which normally, sometimes we don't have subject matter. We just do freestyle, you know what I'm saying? Because we just like to talk about whatever's on our minds. But today's topic is men's mental health. Or mental health just in general. But we want to focus on men because men seem to, or tend to be, I should say, looked over, I guess, a little bit or whatnot. Like, you know, or at least that's the way we feel sometimes. You know what I'm saying? We feel like we're supposed to suck it up or whatnot. So we want to really talk about men's mental health because guys don't talk. We don't talk. And that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? It's a major problem.
No, he want me to go.
My bad. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, all right. He want me to go ahead. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff online, and it just gets, I don't know, tiring. I'm always saying personally, I don't want to be in an intimate relationship. It just seems there's a lot of lack of understanding and working together, building together. And when I say building, I'm not even talking about a business. I'm talking about mentally building together, spiritually, if it need to be physically. I'm talking about that, because sometimes people think when they hear about building together, sometimes people act like they actually don't even want to hear, oh, I don't want to talk about building together. But I mean, if you're in a relationship, a serious, actually let's say that, a serious, because there's a difference between just having fun, you know, you're in a serious relationship, even if you're just dating. People take dating to certain levels. They just feel like, you know, we're dating, it's not serious. And some people feel like dating, it is serious. So that's another thing. Communicate. You gotta communicate. Don't have me thinking, well, dating just, like for me, dating means we're not serious, to use that word, in a relationship. That means, yeah, we seeing each other, but both of us are, you know, we're not in a committed relationship. We might be dating other people at the same time too.
Kind of just filling things out.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
See, that's where the communication comes in. When it comes to relationships like that, it's like talking about what type of relationship you got. Because when it comes to relationships, people say, you know, the classic things like, what are we, or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, not even talking about relationships like dating relationships, but just in relationships period. Because whether you know it or not, you're in a relationship with your friends, your family, even strangers. You know what I'm saying? We have relationships with strangers, you know, not intimate, but you know what I'm saying? But you have relationships with people, and you know, it's an important thing, you know what I'm saying, communication and whatnot. But going to the mental health side of things, you got to be open. You know what I'm saying? I think one of the main issues is people aren't open to talk to other people about stuff because of the way we're looked at in society or whatnot, or people judge people. Let me put it like that. People are quick to judge people, and you never know what somebody is going through. The term they say going postal on somebody or whatever, like people go postal, but it wasn't something that just, it didn't it just happened overnight. You know what I'm saying? This is a process of things. I know personally, me with my mental health, I've been working on my mental, physical, spiritual, and financial growth in all aspects. When it comes to my mind, you know, your mind can tear you down. It can tear you up. You can be in your own head, so to speak. Me personally, I know I'm in my head all the time. I even had a thing that I wanted to start called In My Head or whatnot. I may do it, but who knows? I don't know if y'all ready for what's in my head. But but for real, like, living in your own head. And so, good way to get it out is to talk about it. If you got somebody comfortable to talk about it with. If you don't, journal, diary, you know what I'm saying, or whatnot. Write it out. It's kind of like crying, you know what I'm saying. My grandfather told me, you know, years ago before he passed away. He just passed away this year, but he told me years ago, he was like, you know, You got to get it out. Don't hold it in. And that's what it's like. Your thoughts, you have to get them out of your head. Put them onto pen and paper, or put them on the paper with a pen. Talk to somebody about it. Hell, even if you just talk to yourself out loud. I talk to myself out loud a lot. I pray daily, especially in the mornings. I was talking to a friend of ours earlier. I pray daily on my ride in the car. Sometimes I have, moments where I just cry, for whatever reason it may be. And, it's good to get that out, too. I was talking to him about that, about, what I'm saying, let's talk about how I broke down or whatever. But your mind, oh, man, the old saying was something about school, my mind is a terrible thing to waste. Yeah. There's more than one way to waste your mind than to not actually use it. You can actually use it to destroy yourself, be self-destructive. What people talk about in terms of self-sabotage. Mm-hmm. We sabotage ourselves all the time, and it starts right here. So free your mind. Free your mind.
Well, I say guard your mind, because there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff out here. Whether it's whatever reason, because you got some people and. And this isn't a call out to anyone particular. We trying to mask, but a lot of these panels that pop up, you gotta be careful. Not even just with the panels, but I mean, there's just so much. The pictures, someone comes up who probably be considered to be very attractive, and that might mess with you, and you could still be attractive. I know attractive people who don't think they're attractive, and they might get looked at as, again, that goes back to you don't know what they've been through, and we're also told, get the abs, your world will be great, lose the weight, your world is great, go get that BBL, the world is great. Why we got so many people looking like so many people, and then certain people don't feel secure about themselves because they don't fit that look, or even sometimes, just personally putting out there with me, especially when I'm with him, I always be teasing him. They looking at you, they looking at you, and I just be like, I'm just there. But since my self-esteem has gotten better, and that's actually through therapy, actually. So I do go to therapy. I got a brother who's a pastor, and he's a great counselor, and I know we as black people, oh Lord, they talking about going to the pastor. No, my brother is a great
counselor, like for real.
And that's what you need. You need, whether it's a therapist, a pastor, a friend, you need someone who is a great counselor, because they're going to break down. That's what you need. You need a breakdown, and you need to be, explain to you what's needed for you to do better. And just like a therapist, we do know therapists are, hopefully they're certified, whoever you're going to and all that, and have a good practice. But you got to have a link with the therapist, and regardless if you have a therapist or not, you got to do the work. Mm-hmm. And that's where there's a lot of slack in doing the work. And I'm just going to tell right quick, just to give some quick advice on how you do the work. Number one, you got to be honest with yourself. If you are not honest with yourself, which is hard, I've learned to become honest with myself. It's not easy being honest with yourself. And you got to do the work. Not only a big mistake a lot of people make, you got to do the work in the good times too. You just don't save the work for the bad times. So you got to stay, like, you probably see a lot of people talking about positivity, manifestation, and all that. All that's real. It does tie in with Lord God. That's another thing too. People, words, you got to be careful how you use words, because some people get so upset with hearing sometimes the universe. Why are they always talking about the universe? Why are you talking about energy? Why are you talking about manifestation? All those things are under the law of God, actually. So the world teaches on the laws of God, not just the church. And the laws of God are the laws of God. We're not here to preach church or any kind of religion. But we're just saying things tie into each other. Even when I started off with talking about the relationship, your mental health affects all your relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But your spouse, or even if you just living with somebody and y'all aren't married, they're going to get the worst. They're going to get the best, but they're also going to get the worst. You're around that person probably most of the time, even with the pandemic, supposedly being over and all that. They still, before the pandemic, and we really don't want to speak on during the pandemic because obviously a lot of people were just with each other. But being after the pandemic, being out and about, that person who you live with, probably, I don't know, you want to say roommates, but a spouse is more intimate. Again, whether
I'll say even with the roommate thing, I think, like, I'm sure a lot, during the pandemic, I'm sure a lot of friendships, people were roommates and they were just around each other all the time, it might have got kind of, maybe, I don't know, because it wasn't like we was on, like, lockdown, we couldn't leave the house, so people could technically leave, I guess.
But we keep hearing, we don't really hear about roommates.
We don't hear about a lot of roommates, like a lot of roommate situations where people like end up not being friends. I don't know, like if somebody out there, if you had a particular situation like that with a roommate, like please let us know if you don't mind, because it is something to think about. I didn't really think about that, roommates, because I think like years ago when I was living with like 4 or 5 other people in the house, and I was sleeping on an army cot. I was in a different spot in my life. It was just crazy. And so I had a room. I traveled a lot working, but when I came home, I had a sleeping bag I slept in on the floor pretty much. And I probably had enough money to go buy my own place, but it's like I wasn't in town enough to really like rent my own place. It was like 20, so my buddy didn't let me rent a room from them for like $200 a month. And it was a lot of us that lived together. So it was like 5. Let me count. It was like 5 or 6 of us in one house, but the house was huge. I will say it was big. I ain't gonna lie, near the Panther Stadium. But then it was like at any given time, another 10, maybe 20 people might just be at the house. So it was crazy. So a situation like that, like honestly, it's some of my friendship suffered, like or has been pretty much disintegrated, dismantled, and I believe due to that situation. It was a whole lot that went on there, so I can only imagine what the pandemic might have done or whatever. I think the pandemic did do some stuff to some people, or whatnot, just being around people. But again, communication, some of that could have been solved possibly, or whatever. Understanding, people got to understand each other. Know that you're not always right or whatever. But like you said, like that mental health, the mental side of it. People can feel your energy. You can feel their energy.
Yeah.
You gotta literally like Black Samurai said, you gotta guard your mind. You gotta guard your mind.
And also, which actually the number one thing really